Well, good evening, everybody. It is the Igniting the Next Generation Day 4. Day 4. And for those of you who have been with us and have been watching this thing continuously, we are excited that you're here. I am James McLam, the founder and CEO of Generation Youth, one of the hosts, one of the people who is very pleased to be able to um, be a host of the Igniting the Next Generation. And we're here to recap day 4 when we got a lot of, I think we've got the most
Mhm.
number of our presenters tonight that we've had any particular
We do.
night and stuff. Yeah. So I'm gonna let it Tammy take over. Tammy's gonna guide us through this thing, and Tammy, if you'll
All
head
right.
us up.
I'm excited to be here with these four amazing presenters and James and myself. But I
Am
am
I
one
not
of
amazing? I just kind of got the feeling that you
I
just
said
said that.
you and I, Jeff. I mean James. So we're in the
Yeah.
same boat here. But I'm excited to have these engaging, dynamic speakers. Let's start with everyone introducing themselves. James just introduced himself. I'm Tammy Matheny, part of the triad of the co-hosting of the summit. I am a mental game coach and author and colleague and co-author with Jeff Heggie as well. So Jeff, ping it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you. Yes, I am part of the three that have been hosting this for a while now, and this has been awesome. Glad James was the brainchild of this. And as Tammy said, I work with her on the Confident Athlete program. We authored Challenger Deep, Athletes Rising Above Adversity together. Awesome experience. Appreciate the opportunity to do that with her. And I have an opportunity to work with entrepreneurs and athletes every day. So I love doing it and glad to be a part of this and glad to be on this day with all these awesome speakers. Derek, you want to go?
Sure. My name is Derek Pearson. I live in Lincoln, Nebraska, but I am a child of Northern Virginia and the DMV. I've worked and lived all over the country, whether it was as a sportscaster or a coach. Coach three sports. I'm one of those rare unicorns that coach three high school sports every year. Semi-retired from that because a few years ago I bought a sports radio station in Lincoln, Nebraska, covering the Huskers, and I'm one of 93 black people in America who own a radio station. So it's pretty deep water to get into to make this thing work. So I am 35 years a coach, 32 years as a sportscaster, and I haven't worked in 37 years.
Love it. Who do you want to hear from, Derek?
Let's Leah. Let's bring Leah in.
All right, Derek, thank you. I'm Leah Jansen. I live in New York, Long Island specifically. I am a mental health and performance coach for athletes. And I'm also, I have a newsletter called The Car Ride Home for parents of athletes. And I'm one of the only working mental performance coaches in a high school setting. So I have the rare and privileged best job in the world where I get to meet with all of our city teams in my high school, which we have 35, and all the athletes. I'm also a guidance counselor in the building, so I am I'm there all day long, and I'm with the kids all day long, and it's the coolest place to be. So I'm excited. I also have 4 kids of my own, 4 athletes of my own, so I'm in it as a parent, and I'm in it as an athlete. I'm a 3-time Ironman, 15-time marathon runner. So I've literally been in every single one of the seats that everybody here has probably been in, either as an athlete, as a parent, or as a kid. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you, James, and the rest of the triumvirate here, the crew, Jeff and Tammy, for having me here. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you. All right, Phil, you're up. Phil's jumping
Before
in.
Phil goes,
I'm up, everybody.
you and I might have to argue before Phil goes because
We're
I
gonna
think
argue, Tammy?
I have the best job in America.
Oh, you have the best. Okay, we can have that argument. We can agree
Okay.
to disagree, but Jeff might have the best job. He said he had the best job, so
Okay.
we're gonna have to fight it out. Okay, sorry,
Phil.
Phil.
All good. Friends, my name's Phil Januszewski. By day, actually, I overlap with Leah. I'm an educator, a chem and physics teacher. I start year 20 on Monday. I'm a speaker, teacher, and creator. So I love to pour into adult givers of the world, those who often support our youth and help them show up to life more inspired and less tired. So being here with all of you was completely energizing, an honor and a privilege. And I'm ready to get down and dirty with whatever we're talking about today, friends. Let's get to it.
Hey Tammy, beforehand, you need to text Mark McKinney and tell him to get on because, to
We have
comment.
him. Yes.
Yeah, they
You are
have
the
almost
Bill-
the exact
right
same
on.
verbiage on what they do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So I'll put you guys in contact. But let's get started with the presentations. And I would like to hear from the speakers here. Share a brief synopsis about what yours was about, and then the rest of us ask questions, add comments. But Jeff, we'll let you kick it off.
You bet. So, as I mentioned, I had the opportunity to write Challenger Deep Athletes Rise Above Adversity with Tammy, and she shared a story in there about Erin Matson, which I hadn't heard before. It's a really cool story about how she took her talents and believed in what she could do and went from being an athlete to a coach, and she's just incredible, the success she's had. And I use that story to talk about belief, because belief is such a powerful source that we have within ourselves. And I think it's something that we all need to learn more about and use more of it, because, we have to learn to tell ourselves better stories about the future so we can take better action in the present to create the outcome in the future that we desire. Because there's so many things that when it comes to belief, that the things that don't matter, we'll declare them, where when the things that matter most, we try to qualify them. Like, I'm going to get that sale, or I'm going to try to get that sale. Maybe I'm going to make that basketball team. Maybe. Whereas we do so many other things that don't matter, that we just state it. We just declare this is what we're going to do. But we've got to get to the point where we really believe. And I think we can all point to times in our lives where we had a strong belief in what we were capable of and what we were going to do, and it turned out for us. And one of the things I talk about in my presentation is when we do have that complete belief in what we're doing, it's amazing the things that go into play, our subconscious, on what it will do to help us achieve those things. There's so many powers that we have within ourselves when we have that faith and belief that we'll get the proper outcomes through it. And so I use that story of Erin just because she did have such a deep belief in what she was capable of. And it went on from being an athlete to taking over the most prestigious program in the nation as a coach at a young age, and going on to win a national championship in her first year. And so hopefully from what I talk about, that's what I'm hoping is people will start to learn more about using belief as a tool in their toolbox.
Hey, Jeff, when I was listening to yours, I was starting to think from my point of view as an educator talking to 15 to 18-year-olds, like, what's the first baby step that we can help them? Is it fake it till you make it, like tell yourself and then eventually get that W, and then from there start believing it more? Is there a way to just dip your toe in so that eventually they start buying what we're selling?
I'd have to say I've taken that route a lot of times, the fake it till you make it, but I heard someone say it a different way that I really like. It's believe it till you achieve it. And one of the things I love studying some of the old stuff, Napoleon Hill and those guys from way back then. And one of the things that he talked a lot about was the repetition, having your definite chief aim, your goals and stuff, and repeating them all the time and putting them into your subconscious and putting it out there with faith. And, Tammy the other day talked about the power of your why. And she talked, she has her why up here on her computer, and she talks to our athletes about, putting it on your mirror and reading it all the time. And I think when you do have that repetition, it's easier to start believing. Napoleon Hill talks about having your statement, your definite chief aim that you read every morning, every night before you go to bed, and just ingrain it in your subconscious. I write out my goals in my mindset journal every single morning. And, as you do things like that, your subconscious goes to work and helps you on those. But it's a lot of the things that we work on in the Confident Athlete program. Like, all the things that are going to help you build more confidence, or the things that are going to help you believe, like preparation. You can't, I think the way Tammy talks about it in the Confident Athlete book is you can't be fully confident in something when you haven't put in the time and effort to prepare yourself. And so as you start to do those things and you're consciously practicing these things, thinking these things, then all the other powers come into play, your subconscious and all those things that are going to help you to believe in it.
I also think, Jeff, I just want to piggyback on what I agree with what you're saying. I think kids think they're the only ones that think these ways. I'm the only one. Everybody else has got it figured out. This is what they tell me. Everybody knows what they want to study in college. Everybody knows what they want to do. Everyone knows where they want to go. I'm the only one who's clueless. And I think we have to remind them that they're not alone. And I tell them I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. It's totally normal to not know. And it's okay. But again, back to that belief, because they're not going to practice their preparation, their visualization, their journaling if they don't think they're worthy of it, or if they don't think they're truly capable, they don't believe they're truly capable of achieving X, Y, or Z, whether that's a D1 commit or getting into the college of their dreams. They're not going to do those mental preparations if they don't think they're going to, if they don't believe with, like you're saying, it starts with why, right? So I think replacing some of the thoughts that they have, their defaults of, nothing good ever happens to me. I always fail this test. I always strike out when I get up to play, like that's their default dialogue. We just have to start to replace it. Just like people that go to the gym, right? You didn't always go every day to the gym, or you didn't work out every day. You started out and you went once, right? And then the next week you went twice. And then the next week you went. So same thing with them. It's like you start out saying one thing, let's replace that with something else that's useful and build on it. But I love your message, Jeff. I just wanted to jump in.
No, I love that. Thanks for adding that. And you know what? One of the other things I want to add to that is and I talk about this in my presentation, is looking at historical evidence. I think the way I said it is the world belongs to those that believe. You look at the things that happened in history, and it was people that believed in themselves. Like there were two people that believed they could create something heavier than air and make it fly until it was done. It's impossible until it's done, right? And I think that's the whole reason Tammy and I wrote Challenger Deep, is because it brings a lot of those stories to a position where you look at the Aaron Matsons and all of these and think, well, that's them. That's Michael Jordan. That's whoever. But then you read these stories and they're like, but they used to be a normal person. Even if you've read the book Shoe Dog, the whole story of Nike, I'm reading that and it's talking about in this beginning and the struggles he went through. And I'm thinking, that's exactly how I was with my manufacturing company. Like all of a sudden Phil Knight's normal. And,
but again,
you look at history.
Think about with social media, all they see is the end result. All they see is the success part. And maybe these athletes reflect, oh, back when I was 12, oh, but you were Michael Jordan. Oh, but you were Serena Williams, or you were Tiger Woods. But here's where I want us as advocates for youth athletes. If they don't believe in themselves, we have to be there for them and believe in them. I like to pour into my kids, listen, you got this. They're like, really? You think? Absolutely. I believe it. Do I look like I'm lying to you? And they look at me and they go, I am so 100% with you. And they're like, what? So I think it's our jobs to kind of bridge that gap as 15-year-olds and 16-year-olds to us in our, God, I'm not going to tell you how old, but we're finally figuring it out now. We're like, oh, I should be journaling. It took me a long time to get here. We can't expect them to get there overnight, but we can plant the seed and give them that feeling of, I got you. I see you. And you're going to do the things you want to do. Just hang in there. Just take those baby steps. But they're only seeing the end result. They're seeing the success of all these people and going, I'm never going to get. It's hard to watch that. Thank God I didn't have social media in high school. I'm so grateful. Thank you, Mom and Dad. Thank you for being old. I love being old.
But something you said, Leah, that John Gordon says a lot is that the four most powerful words you can tell someone is, I believe in you. Mm-hmm. And I think our youth need to hear that. And obviously that's been some messages from last night and the night before as well, of we have to encourage more than criticize our youth.
Yep.
But I really do believe that.
Yeah, I think you're right, Tammy. And more things are caught than they're taught, right? They're watching us. They're listening.
And
I
Tony
was on the
DeCicco-
treadmill this morning listening to you, and I was like, I've got to remember that caught
Yeah.
versus taught.
Caught versus, yes, definitely. And I don't know if many of you know Tony DeCicco. He was one of the U.S. women's national team coaches, women's soccer, when they were most dominant. And he wrote a book, Catch 'em Doing Well, Catch 'em Doing Right.
I love that.
And,
Yeah.
But he's talking about these elite women's soccer players, the best in the world, and he had to do that for them.
Yeah.
So why in the world wouldn't we do that for our 15, 14, 13-year-olds? But
Right.
yeah, we could talk about this all day. I love Jeff's messages. I love
it.
this conversation. But speaking of love, I want to get to Derek because he is all about love. And I first heard Derek speak with a co-friend of ours, Chip Baker, and we were
One of the
on-
original presenters on the
Yes, he
Igniting.
was original presenter in our summit. And, this guy I had not met, Derek, starts talking and he talks about love. And I just felt at peace when listening to his message. So I was like, we have to have him on this summit. So Derek, tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I will challenge you all that I have the best job because my job in full as a coach, mentor, partner, business owner is simply to love. And because I'm unlimited in it and I'm bound by it, it is my GPS. It's how I focus. I'm a walking miracle. And I say that after 30 plus years of coaching, I had surgery. I had spinal fusion surgery because 30 years of coaching. And at the end of that, they botched the surgery. And when I woke up, I was in ICU, couldn't breathe, had to learn everything again as an adult. And it was that day that the days started to matter and start to count. So today is 22,658 for me, 22,568. And I do that because when I was really at my lowest, I asked for one more day. And if I'm given those days, it's my job to love myself, be grateful in it, be productive, and then be gracious at the end of it, right? That I need to say, thank you for this day, the only 22,658 I get. I've never seen it before. I've never lived it before. Everything that I get today is new because I'm smarter today. I'm more loving today. I'm more familiar today. I know more, and I'm never going to know less than today. And that's the whole point. And as a coach, it's my job to love forward and up, period. No matter what the situation, circumstance, or otherwise, it's my job to love forward and up. That in that moment, in those conversations that we have with young athletes, it is looking them in the eye and being present enough to just love them forward and up. You can remove a whole lot of circumstance by being available, present, and loving. And I said, I put together a study program that allowed them to connect to that day. What are you learning today? What did you learn? What do you want to learn? What do you want to get better at? What are we working on? We called it the menu. And that when they walk into the locker room or the classroom, on the menu, love is always first on the menu. And then forward and up, pick a thing that you want to love more and be active in it. And I came up with this concept of love print. They asked me this question, how do you want to be identified at the end of your time? And we talk about carbon footprints. And I said, no, that's not human enough. That's not good enough. If we do this thing right, it should be a love print. And love requires action to match the love. Like love without action, you feel good, but you don't accomplish anything. Action without love, you're busy, but you're not really doing anything good. But at every great moment, as a mentor, educator, partner in life, human being, in our entire existence, every great moment was the meeting of love and action, forward and up. That's just how simple it is. And no matter who you're talking to, no matter what they're going through, to remind them that, listen, and we can all accept this, no matter what your day is, you're undefeated. Nothing you've ever stressed about, worried about, fretted about, gave up time, mental time, emotional time, nothing ever beats you. that you're still here as you are with the opportunity to go forward and up and doing it with love. And so as a coach, as a boss, I want to create a space where every day everybody smiles walking in the door because you get to do a thing you love with people you love because you love yourself first. And then we've used the mission in sports. And I've coached all over the country, 3 different sports every year. And without fail, I win 78% of my games because we commit to that level. And it's all based on that. It's all based on loving forward and up. We practice. Don't tell me you love the sport if you don't work like you love the sport, right? You can't panic if you've done the work. And we always say chaos only happens when you don't slow down, because when you slow down, chaos ceases to exist. And as an athlete, it's the best moment. I don't care if it's basketball, football, baseball, whatever it is. When panic starts to show up, slow down, because if you've done the work and you love yourself and you love your teammates and you love the mission, you're just going to go forward and up, and you can't be wrong. You can't be wrong. And we never talk winning. I've never, as a coach, talked winning. I've won over 700 games in my career, and I've never talked winning with my players. I talk about loving them and them loving themselves. That's it. That's the process for love for me. And then I set a GPS, and it says, tell my players, if you ever start to fear what you should do next, start from love, finish in love, and then the easiest way to get from one to the other is to love more. It simplifies everything in what we do. So, I love for a living. As they say, I'm here to love and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
And if you know what that's a movie, that's a reference from, you're old.
Yes, yes.
Roddy Piper, thank you very
Yes,
much.
sir.
Derek, that's just a phenomenal message, and it just speaks to my heart, because you're right. I think, if we all just decided to love a little bit more, we all would be successful. And we can look at that as a country, as a community, as a sports team, as a family unit. So it's a message that needs to be broadcast more. So
Well, it's really that as a parent, as a coach, when your child leaves the house, you want them so covered in love that nothing else will stick. And the other thing's going to show up. But if I've covered you so much in love, that other thing, you know what love feels like. You know what it sounds like. You know what it looks like. And when the other thing shows up, you can say, you know what? That's not it. That's not it. And that's not for me. And it's constant. That if I love my players, that each of my teams made that school, that community, that neighborhood better because they loved themselves and carried it out of the building. Like, that's just really the purpose, that my players affect the community. They affect the neighborhood. I created a Smiles Project where each of my players, and we started with a simple idea. Can you create more smiles in the space that you're in? Now try to get 50, 16, 17, 18-year-old boys to talk about love freely and openly. But when they acknowledge the fact that it's manly to do so, it changes the community to open doors, to do laundry so that you take care of yourself, to learn how to make meals so that your mother doesn't have to, that your father has that freedom, and you understand that. And then the school is changed because the leaders, none of our athletes are anonymous. So when they walk in with a smile and loving as the thing that's on their chest, everybody else that walks up knows love is not only welcome here, it's actually preferred.
Derek, I love this so much that I want to jump out of my chair, go start a program. But how do you get the coaches? There's such a mentality of this winning, and winning isn't everything. And I know that, you know that, everybody on this call knows that. I just want these kids. I mean, what percentage of kids play college sports? 5 to 7%, right? So the rest of those kids on these varsity teams and JV are just there to participate and have fun with their friends and learn lessons about commitment and coachability and reliability, all of that. But I feel these coaches are so obsessed with the winning and this and that they're missing the love and they're missing the impact they could have on these kids. And I want to reach out. I want you to come speak to my coaches.
Well, here's what really happened. I mentioned that I've won 78% of my games in Utah, Virginia, North Carolina, Texas, everywhere. I didn't mention that 78% of my student athletes also are scholar athletes
Mm-hmm.
that they choose through loving each other, because they know that the standard is if my brother is working, we call it shared IQ, that my smart kids lead the not as smart kids, or at least the ones that aren't producing, because the 78% travels to every university, to every marriage, to every relationship in every household. That 78% is a commitment to doing better for themselves every day. And we track it. And that 78, look, for the teams where I got 87% wins, I got 87% of those guys to commit to being scholar athletes. And the school sees it. And you talk about that 5%. Well, what if I told you that my numbers for Division I Power 5 athletes in 4 states in 3 sports, that number, that 38% of my student athletes go on to play Division I football, basketball, baseball. You know why? Because as a college coach, you know, if I'm going to invest $250,000 in this student athlete,
Mm-hmm.
they don't fail because of talent. They fail because of heart and here.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally, if they don't have a plan for how they're going to get through the difficult moments, you better love yourself when nobody's around, because that's the only way you're lovable, when everybody comes to you, and they're coming. So the players buy in, the parents are a part of, I created a 168 program, 168 hours a week. And in order to play for me, they have to tell me what they do with their 168. Tell me how you spend your time. And the number one excuse for not being productive at any level, any age, is I don't have the time. But we all have the same 168. It's how we manage it.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody who sends out a college application, my players know to put in there, hey, listen, aside from that other dude you're recruiting, I know how I'm going to manage my 168. I know how to study. I know how to achieve academically. And I know how to make the community, that program that you're running worth millions of dollars, I can make it better simply by being in it.
Yeah, I agree with you. Go ahead, Tammy.
Well, I was just going to say, I just signed you to a full scholarship there with that skill right there.
You're in.
It's the recruiting side of it. And as parents, the pillars of the 168 program is that each week I so at the beginning of the year, as soon as you make my team, I hand you a notebook. And in that notebook, old school notebook, you have to, when you go to class, tell me what you learned, tell me what was assigned, tell me how you feel. And at the end of the week, you march into every class and you share it with the teacher. And the teacher signs it and says, yes, I saw it. Yep, assignments are in. That connection works. That the teacher knows that their lessons are landing, and the student knows that it matters. It matters. They see the teacher go, wow, you got that. Oh, wow, okay, you're participating. They then take that home every Friday. They go to the teachers, and then they take it home. And the parents look at every page, and they see the teacher's notes, and they sign it. And then Monday morning, they bring it to me. And in week 1 and week 2, they bring it to me. In week 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, they give it to the team captains, and they run the program. And that peer support, that shared IQ of, listen, if he's struggling at calculus, I've got a 4.0 calculus guy. I may have a couple. Well, I have you for 2.5 hours a day. And if I'm a man of my heart and of my love, I need to love you right. So better spend that time you getting right in calculus than it is you throwing fastballs or shooting jumpers.
Mhm.
So I'm a man of my word. So I say, if I tell you it's important for you to love yourself in full, loving yourself in full is giving you the help, putting you with smart teammates, and then bonding. And every week you get those notes. And let me tell you, it takes me 3 weeks to get them on board. And then I don't have to touch it the rest of the year, the rest of that season. And then the next year, the returning players, they've already put the word out. Listen, if you're going to play for Coach DP, he's going to check on you. He knows you're going to class. He knows that your parents get the notes, and it removes the 23rd hour of chaos where, oh my goodness, Johnny's struggling academically. Johnny's struggling physically. Listen, if he's having a bad day at practice, he had a bad day in class, and vice versa. I always would rather know, and for them to know that they can put something, a simple note in that pad to say, hey, coach, I'm struggling. I'm struggling. That removes all of that. Love is an active, purposeful thing. And in coaching and in mentoring and in educating, all of it, it should be your next decision is a love-based decision.
Yeah. Very good.
Good stuff.
I feel like it's Valentine's Day. All this love spreading
Yeah,
around.
I think, Derek, like,
I love it though. I mean, I do.
if you empower the leaders, the athletes, they are not anonymous. They are well known. But what do we celebrate them for all the time? We celebrate them for their goals and their points. And let's celebrate the other aspects of them. Let's celebrate. I created I have a club in my school for mental awareness, for mental health for athletes, but we've called something the Patriot of the Week. We're the Patriots. And instead of highlighting the kid who scored the most goals, who had the most saves, I have the coaches send me names of kids who helped another kid off the field or who stepped up when whatever it was. Let's celebrate the other kids too, not just the ones who are scoring. And so we have the Patriot of the Week, and it's sportsmanship, or they had a great week. They made they got to be on the travel squad, or they hit a PR on the track. And these kids take a picture with their little certificate, and they're like, when I meet with my teams, we're in a circle, and I tell them every single person in this room is of equal importance. Every single one of you in the room.
The first TEDx that I did was based on that. It was based on that. It was actually called the Love Project, because coaching for me was literally just a love project. And we talked about the difference between the first player. Coaches know the first player and the last player. The player who's the most talented. That's the easy decision, and those are the ones that get fed. But the most important one is the one that the coaches chooses last, because they spend the most time with the coach listening. Yeah. It's the one that they're not as fast, they're not as strong, not as tall, but they become as important because they can get in corners and they can push your standard from the bottom up rather than just dragging you down. And it was in that the real challenge for me at a new school is that I bring all of this love, and it's not comfortable for a lot of people. But I had a captain who was returning, and I was told, you got to get this one first. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And we struggled. There was friction. But that friction, when friction removes, right, we propel or we grind. We propelled because this young man, I identified that he was going to not only lead this team, but he was going to lead the community. This young man may lead the country one day. And I told him, listen, in order for you to be the president of the United States one day, you're going to have to care about the last person on your watch. You're going to have to care about the guy who's not as talented as you are, fast as you are, not as popular. And the moment you decide to coach, to lead them all, we're going to win. And we literally knocked off the number one team in the state on their premise, because our leadoff guy and our last guy, the last guy pitched his first game of the year that year as a starter and beat the best team we were going to face all year. And it was just that we what we celebrate as coaches and educators is so vital. It's so vital that, listen, they hear you, they see you, they believe you. And if you tell them that love is the way and you actually do so, they will follow. They're looking to figure out what to follow.
Yep.
Give them a good thing rather than the other thing, because the other thing will find them.
And don't think that they're not listening, or, you know, I sometimes used to say, are they hearing me? Is it sinking in? Like, you wonder, just like with your own children, like, what am I doing? And then
They hear you.
They do. You see something where I'm like, wow, it's happening. Like they actually are listening, and they're actually, I agree. They want someone to follow. They are looking to trust an adult. They're looking for someone that will give them that message, like, I accept you, I love you, I'm here for you, I believe in you. And if it's not you, they're going to follow someone else. And if that message from the other person may not be as good.
Yeah, it really is the GPS that if I tell a young person that I'm going to love you and you have permission to hold me accountable for loving you, that if it doesn't feel like love or sound like love, they get to say, hey, you promised to love me. This doesn't feel like love.
Mm-hmm.
Do we need to recalculate? Are we But you have to have the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And as coaches, I love being held accountable for that. I love that when I show up at practice, I got to give hugs and fist bumps rather than carry my luggage into the day. Like, it's not their fault I had a tough day. We're going to love our way through it. That's how we get down.
Awesome.
This is great. Very good. I could talk about this all day, but I do want to transition, and that's an easy transition into Phil with your whole unique gifts. That again, there's a lot of synergy. We've said this every night that we've been in here. But tell us about your presentation, Phil.
Yeah, hearing Derek speak, I agree. There's a natural transition there. I think from an evolutionary point of view and a human psychological brain safety point of view, right? The more that we feel accepted and collaborative, the safer we feel, the more we can take healthy risks, the more that we can grow. So one of my favorite ways to tiptoe into thriving even more instead of just surviving is definitely giving away our own unique personal gifts. And that was the theme of my quick message on this summit. The idea that if we ever feel like we are lower on energy, if we ever feel like we're getting closer to cynical or burning out, as Derek, you mentioned, right? The best way to lead with love is to give our gifts in some way. Mm-hmm. And all of us have unique, quirky gifts that look different from everyone else. And when we give those gifts, they don't deplete us. They actually energize us. But all of us have our own different ways of doing that. So I give an example. A quirky one for me is that I love to cook and bake in like the world of hospitality and creating things for other people and giving it to them, show that I was thinking of them. Now, that's never going to make the national news, and it doesn't need to. But what it does, it reminds us, even though, and Leah, you kind of brought up the idea of media, that we see these grandiose end results, and sometimes it desensitizes us to the actual value we bring to others, especially those close to us in our schools, communities, teams. But if we give our unique gifts in some way to lift others up, we all know that's a double win, right? A positive upward spiral. They're feeling good because you thought of them and you're supporting them and giving to them, but you also lift up yourself as well. The more that we can do that and build that in a genuine way that's organic to our specific talents or interests, the better we all can be. So just trying to plant that seed, not only for adults, but for youth as well, that we all win in the end when we give, but we have to do it in a way that doesn't deplete us and burn us out. It has to be in a genuine, organic way that actually energizes and lifts us up. So the whole theme of love is an awesome one. I took the VIA Character Strength Institute survey. If you guys have never done that, I recommend it. I'm a science guy, so as you know, all surveys are only as good as surveys can be, but they kind of pinpoint your top 5 character strengths. And I imagine Derek's would be like mine. Number 1 was love. And then my next one was humor. I love to love people and then also laugh with them. But when you find those character strengths, you can dig in and start thinking about what are some of my unique things that fill me up and how can I give? It's a win-win. So it was a pleasure to try to plant those seeds and hopefully inspire and shift a couple perspectives that, yeah, even though I'm tired, I can give more. And in the end, we're all going to grow and win from that.
Awesome.
Well,
What a
you
strong
definitely picked
message.
one.
I love
Yeah.
that.
And what a strong message at this time of the year with so many, like yourself, starting school on Monday. It's so many starting in the next 3 weeks to 4 weeks. I know it's easy, for the decade that I was in the classroom, it's easy that first week to kind of, first month even, to keep that energy. This is a message they need to hear. And for me, it was always like the last of February. It was like, oh my gosh, we're in the long home stretch now. There's no end in sight. When's the next break? Can it snow anytime soon? Can we get a snow day here? All right. So,
I'm not there.
Well,
Lee, I see that you got a jumpsuit. You wanted to go?
Yeah, I do have to jump soon. The family's waiting for me to. We have like a ritual where we all sit together and watch like a show once or twice a week, and it's very hard to get 4 children ages 12 to 21 to like the same show. So we have a couple of options, but they're and Wednesday nights. I'm sorry, Thursday nights is like our show night. Anyway. Nobody cares about that. But no, I love what everybody's talking about. I feel like we could all sit in the same room and just banter back and forth and share all the ideas and love. I love the gifts. That's amazing, Phil. I think that's really cool. And I try sometimes to talk to kids and say, well, you're really good at this. And they're like, I am? I'm like, yeah, you have this great way of explaining such and such. They're like, I do. They are floored when you point out, here's the thing I'm learning about teenagers, not learning, but they expect us as adults to be against them. Somehow they think, that we're out to get them. And because everybody wants to be negative towards teenagers. They have no attention span. They don't know how to talk to adults. All they want to do is be on their phone. They don't know how to, they have no grit. They're soft. This is what I hear, all the time. And I come at it from the other way and I take a page out of Derek's book. I just love on them so much. I'm like, they're awesome. They're quirky and weird and gangly and confused. And one minute they're crying, the next minute they're laughing. The boys don't know whether to be mushy or they're amazing creatures that we were all the same. We all tested the boundaries too, whether we didn't have social media back then, but we did our own thing. Trust me, we all did. So why are we challenging them and not embracing them? Like, okay, guys, and it's so easy and obvious because everyone's going the other way. All the teachers in my building, how come they don't know, get their stuff in on time and it's a deadline. I'm like, okay, I got it. But let's look at the whole picture here. So my presentation was around mental fitness, and I use mental fitness as like a sports, but it's really a life skill, like just how to get over the tough days. Like, I'm a runner and an athlete. Do I want to run every single day? I tell them, do I want to get up every day and run? Hell no. Like 99% of the time, I don't want to do anything. I want to sit on my phone and scroll through, just like you. But I want that thing more than I don't want to run. I want what's on the other side. And teaching them to want what's on the other side and to get through that little bump. It's a teeny bump. Just do today. Like Phil said, one day at a time. We get one day. This is the day. Make it happen today. Don't worry about tomorrow, the next day. I break it into small pieces for them. Let's just get through today. Like, so I'm talking in circles, but I think what I'm trying to say, the mental fitness piece, back to my teaching that resilience, because I have parents ask me, how does my kid get more grit? They're not mentally tough. I'm like, let's just figure out what's going on here before you jump to conclusions that your kid is soft or your kid doesn't have what it takes. And that makes me crazy when I hear this. Like, they have other gifts maybe, right, Phil? Like, maybe they're not using their gifts and it's draining them because they're trying to be something they're not. And maybe that's because you've put this pressure on them. And I feel like the book I want to write is Wake Up, Parents, You're the Problem. Like, come on, guys, let's get with the program. And the parents say to me, "Oh, my kid loves you." I'm like, "Yeah, like I'm talking to him. I'm talking to him. Just talk to them." I don't know. Again, I'm talking in circles, but the mental fitness piece, I try and teach them get through that chemistry test. Sorry, Phil, but that chemistry kills these kids. They struggle. In my building, it's chem honors is a killer. Instead of saying I suck at chemistry, I suck at math, how about, you know what? I'm going to do the best I can today. I'm just going to give it everything I got, and I'm going to control the controllables. I'm going to go in there with a good attitude. And so, a lot of teaching those skills. So like Derek said, before they go off to college and they leave us, they have some kind of mental skills training where they're like, oh, that's right. Mrs. Jansen said, when I get upset, just breathe. I don't care if it's one thing you learned from me. I don't expect them to catch everything I'm teaching them, but take one thing. I saw a kid the other day. They're like, oh, I remember to do my breathing before I got into the batter's box and hit. Awesome. Oh, I talked about, neutral thinking. I'm like, oh my God, I love it. You're listening. They're listening. They are sponges, everyone. I'm preaching to the choir. They want to hear from us. They want to trust us as adults. We have to just keep going at them with love and let them trust us. And then we can teach them everything we want, all these gifts that we want to give them. If they're not listening, we can't impart our wisdom. And I try and teach that to parents too. You have so much you want to share with your kid. You're chomping at the bit, but they're not listening because you're coming at them the wrong way. Just lead with love. Like, just be open. And you can go behind closed doors and go to your partner and go, oh, I can't believe he's quitting baseball. But that might be their gift, might be baking and cooking. And you have to. So again, the mental fitness is like a good catch-all for not just sports, but getting through those SATs and getting through those college applications and that chem test. Like, ooh. So thank you again for letting me go on and on. But I just love this topic. I just think we have the most important job is to help these kids. They look back to their coaches and adults in high school as one of the most impactful people they've ever encountered. I still remember what my coach said to me back in the 90s, early 90s. And it was I remember it for a long time. So let's make sure these memories are good ones.
I love that. I think too, what you were saying, like pushing through, I heard a great analogy that working towards a goal is like when we're hitting a piñata. And Lee, I know you're signing off in that, but I'll keep the train going as you're going. Have a great night. But
thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Phil.
All good. When we're working on that big goal, it's like swinging that bat at the birthday party, the piñata. The first time you hit it, you don't really notice anything. And you keep hitting it and hitting it and hitting it, and it looks like nothing's happening. But every time you hit that piñata, you're slowly weakening it. And eventually, it's just one more hit, and that's when it busts open. That's when you actually break through and get to that goal. And I love bringing that up to students because, and Derek, I'm sure as a coach, like the tiny little incremental growth that they see, I imagine they can get down sometimes, and them understanding that every little step slowly gets us towards that prize at the end, whether that's the win, whether that's getting better at a skill, whatever it is. But yeah, we have to keep swinging away at that piñata, even when we don't see the progress. You have to trust that it's there. It's slowly weakening, and eventually it'll rip open.
Yeah, my little hero in the TED is a young man named Carl Viola, left-handed pitcher, tiny. He was the smallest guy on the team, but he loved baseball. Like he loved his teammates. He wanted to be a part of it, and he said, "Coach, I'll do anything. I'll do anything you need for me to do." And so he would pitch, and he would take a beating. Early in the year, he'd take a beating. He didn't throw hard. He wasn't the biggest guy, the wear and tear. And quite frankly, I was surprised that he kept showing up because you weren't getting to the payoff of playing every game or otherwise. But he also knew that I was a man of my word. And I said, everybody will get their start. Everybody will get their moment on the white chalk where mom and dad gets to hear their name called. And if you work for that, the opportunity happens. Well, I put him in the game. And again, this was the best offense we were going to face. First batter, second batter, third batter, he gets 3 outs in a row. And you would have thought we won the World Series because they knew, they were proud of him and the work that he did. He was proud of himself for the work he did, because throughout all of those practices, he had figured out how to get the big guys out. He figured out how to get people out and how to keep himself in the game. He ended up pitching 4 innings against the best offense we were going to face all year, because quite frankly, the best offense we were going to see all year, he faced every day at practice. So he had built himself up and he had figured it out, and it was a celebration. It really was a special coaching moment.
I love that.
Good story. Yeah. Any other comments on Phil or Derek or Leah?
I just want to point one thing out. I know that James just had it scrolling, but anyone that's watching this on social media right now, if you haven't joined the summit, you can still get access to everyone from today and yesterday. IgniteNextGen.com. Sign up for free, and you can go and listen to all these amazing talks.
Yeah, and Jeff, I think too, we bring it up all the time, but not only hearing the message from everyone, but it's just such a great no-brainer way to connect with good humans that are all with the same goal in mind, to make the world a better place. So if you are looking to just simply recalculate your algorithm to something more positive and less wasteful, start following everybody on this Ignite the Next Generation Summit, and you should start seeing your algorithm really start to spew out some really great stuff, as opposed to just, time vampire, wasting time kind of stuff.
Yeah. Great comment there. But Jessica couldn't join us tonight, and I don't want to leave her out, but let's rehash her talk. Totally different gear there, but just as important, and the importance of study skills. And as parents, helping our child study. Anyone want to add comments there?
One of the things I wrote down about hers, one of her quotes was that studying is the process of learning. I should have had that kind of concept when I was younger and had understood it. So in order for your team to know how to learn, your child has to know how to study. That hit me really hard. I got thinking about my own childhood as well. Is I didn't know how to study. A lot of classes came easy to me, so I did not have to. I could do as well as anybody was doing, so I didn't. There were kids in my class that were very diligent studiers, and I always thought, well, they had parents who taught them. My parents really didn't push it. My dad was like, as long as you don't get trouble and I don't get called to school because of your attitude and your behavior, I'm okay with it, because I didn't do that well, in school. Mom was like, oh, I think you can do, things a little bit better. But so I didn't learn how to study. So that hit me really much in the face, that we really got to work on helping to help our children to define how to study so that they can feel confident in their learning.
Yeah, for me, it was that we asked them to study more without teaching them how to study. Right. And then putting it in shared IQ space. If I've got 50 football players, the smart ones will lead, the successful ones will lead the less successful ones. Like, to see how notes were taken, to see what the thought process, how they were detailing what the teacher was assigning, being structured in assignments, turning in work, communicating with the educator about the lessons. Like, listen, maybe that one didn't land. Maybe your description of this topic didn't reach me the way it reached the 4.0 student. And that information forced them to communicate. And shared IQ was a beautiful thing in baseball teams, basketball teams. My basketball teams with 15 players, that number went up because there was fewer issues. 15 players of the 15, pretty much every year for this duration, 14 of them were 3.5 or above every single year, because they cared about each other. Hey, bro, if this isn't landing with you, give me 20 minutes. I'll help you out. Maybe go about it this way. Maybe try this. And then to have your leaders walk back into the classroom with the teacher to say, we're trying to get this right. What are we missing? It just removes so much of that whole study thing. And again, it was a plan to study, a plan for studying, and a tracking for studying.
Yeah, I think too, my students, if I have a classroom of 30, there's 30 different ways that students will enjoy not only learning, but also enjoy trying to figure it out. And luckily, with the way the world is with technology, they can re-listen to lectures that are videoed, and there's a lot of ways. But I think that's what I enjoyed of her message the most, was that if something isn't going well, it probably is just off the way that they're attempting to get the knowledge and apply it. There has to be a shift somewhere. And I think that self-reflection piece is really important. Think about it. If this is not working, there's got to be a different approach I can take. And leaning on your educator or leaning on, like you said, your fellow classmates is a great place to start. So it was an important reminder not to just struggle through, but we have to change our approach to make it better.
Anyone else? Any other comments or anything?
I just
We-
want to say that I think, again, I've said this every day, but it seems to get better every day. And I just appreciate everyone that has taken time to present. I appreciate everyone listening. And I'm just blessed to be in the presence of all of you guys. My notebook has been full as I've been taking notes from everyone. So I'm just honored and blessed. So thank you all very much.
Well, thank you all for giving us a chance to share space. Again, 22,658, and I got to spend it with y'all. I won. I won.
Now, before you go, though, we do want to give you guys a chance to tell us anything that you are offering, promoting, how to follow you. That will be on your page. But anything you want to highlight right now? Derek.
Yeah, for me, I tell people as a coach, as a radio guy, my name is my brand, and I keep it simple in that I want it to mean something, and that when people seek me out and they know what they're getting. So all over social media, it's Derek Pearson. If you want to get to listen to some really good sports talk radio, I've got a bunch of Hall of Famers from all over. As a matter of fact, former Houston Texan and Green Bay Packer Ahman Green, Jay Foreman, Adam Carricker. These guys work with me every day. So I'm around some real stellar top flight guys. If you want to just look at, it's 93.7 The Ticket FM in Lincoln, Nebraska. If you want to hang out, and then Love Prince, the website is loveprince.us.
All right. Phil.
Yeah, friends, if there's any way that I can pour into anyone listening right now, it would be my pleasure just to simply connect and see if our worlds organically overlap and collide. Same as Derek, my handle's Phil Januszewski on everything, philjanuszewski.com. I'm a speaker for adult givers that loves to pour into them to help them show up to life more inspired and less tired. And I also run a Positive Growth Lounge, which is a teacher's online membership where we meet virtually twice a month to lean on each other. And as I think, as Coach Derek would say, to love on each other too and support each other. So if that's something that resonates, anyone that's an educator that's part of the summit, you are more than welcome to come to a couple meetings, free, completely of charge, to just see if it's your type of family. But reach out for anything. I'm always looking to grow and learn from others.
Awesome. Jeff.
Awesome. And as Tammy had mentioned, on each presenter's page, below their presentation will be all the links that you can connect with them, get their offers and everything. For myself, as I had mentioned earlier, Challenger Deep, Athletes Rising Above Adversity. Tammy and I wrote that recently, and you can get it on Amazon or below my video on the presentation. But August 26th through 30th, I want to invite you. Tammy and I are running a free confidence challenge. It's going to be a 5-day challenge. It's going to be amazing. And you can get that at confidentathleteprogram.com/confidence challenge. So invite you to come join us.
All right, guys, and this doesn't really end the summit. This is the last day of presentations. But on Saturday, you missed one of these 20. We're doing a replay of all 20 all day Saturday. So you can, those of you who have registered for this, or maybe you're just finding out about this tonight and you want to hear more about what's going on, you'll get a chance to see some of those. You'll get a chance to register for this so that you get the email that give you access to the replays on 20. After that, only those who are part of the VIP membership will be able to see the entirety of the show. There might be something else special coming up, but we're just going to tease it with that. So thank you guys for being with us tonight. Thank everybody for participating on the summit, and we hope to see all of you really good, and hoping you all will ignite the next generation. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.